Okay. All right. Time's short, so I'll try to make this introduction real brief. Bev Harrington is with us. Bev is our district governor, the person over all of the clubs in District 50/50, half of them here and half of them up in Canada. Been a Rotarian since 2005 when she joined the Rotary Club of Burlington. She was president in 2016, 2017, Paul Harris Fellow, major donor to the IR Foundation. Doing good in the world requires financial resources. Simple fact, but she believes that and it drives her. Okay. Bev is the owner and operator of Skagit Auto Licensing since 1988 and very involved in the Burlington community before she figured out that women were allowed in Rotary and got into Rotary. She developed a program called the Rotary Youth Engaged in Service program. You've heard it talked about here, the YES program. It connects high school kids to local and international service projects. She was a group study exchange leader in Ecuador, and she holds the Rotary Service Above Self Award from Rotary International. Please welcome Bev Harrington.
Lovely. I've never had everyone welcome me so much before and stand up, all of that. If you don't mind, just a second. It really is a pleasure to be here. I know so many of you here, and sorry that Leroy isn't here. Leroy comes to the Burlington Rotary frequently, or he's on Zoom, and I haven't seen him for a while, so I just heard he's been ill. Can you see?
We need her mic on.
Okay, well, you didn't miss anything. So I just want to take a few minutes to share with you some thoughts I have about our Rotary International president's encouragement for us to do more and grow more. And I believe that is accomplished by focusing on the things that bind us together as Rotarians, which is service and connection. And I purposely don't use the word fellowship, and you'll learn more why in a little bit. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes, and then we're going to get up and be intermixing with a game that we'll use to kind of express what I mean by connection. It really is an honor to be a representative of the district leadership team. And we are a team. It takes every single one of us to do what the district does, not the district governor alone, for sure. And you might wonder, how in the world did I get to this position? How did I become a Rotarian? Well, you know, I wasn't asked by my brother, who still lives in California where we grew up, and is a lifelong Rotarian. He was a club president. We visit usually at least once a year, lately not so much. And he never talked about Rotary. I just happened to know because he had a plaque on his wall that said Rotary Club President. However, he never went without a Rotary pin on his shirt, no matter what he was doing, casual or formal. He always wore a Rotary pin, and he had lots of them. And I wasn't asked by any of the members of the 9 clubs in Burlington and Skagit County. It's hundreds of members. Now, I was serving on this Burlington City Council. I owned my own business. I was the business manager for the Chamber of Commerce. I was in plain sight, and yet asked I was not. I just happened to see a full-page ad one day in the Skagit Valley Herald that had been put there by all of these clubs in the area, talking about their clubs and what they were doing in the community in terms of service and encouraging people to join them. And they said those magic words, women welcome. So I showed up that early morning one Friday in 2005 at the Burlington Rotary Club. And I was asked, who is your sponsor? So I'm standing before you without a sponsor because I just showed up. And the reason I showed up was because I had been involved with service within my business, because I was a credit union CEO, and credit unions are all about service in the community. They just happen to use money to help people and then to do various things. But I learned by reading this article in the paper that the Rotary did lots of service things. And I thought this would be an interesting place to go. I was really welcomed, warmly welcomed, as Rotarians always do. And a couple of years later, when I returned from the Rotary International Convention in Salt Lake City, they were very welcoming when I came back with an idea. Our current club president had put out his goals, so we all knew what he wanted to accomplish in his year. And one of those things was to start an Interact Club. And when I was in Salt Lake City, I went to a breakout session and a group called Youth Link was presenting. And it was an organization that encouraged students to do community service and then an international project. And they had found with this activity that many students then wanted to stay together when they came back, and they formed Interact Clubs. So the Burlington Rotary jumped right on board, sponsored 3 students to join this group. We went to Peru after a year of learning about Rotary and doing local service. And that is exactly how Youth Engaged in Service programs started. We have had almost 100 students since about 14 years ago when the program started. And they have given over 800 hours of local community service. So right now, you may have heard that we're trying to start another group down here in Snohomish County. We have a grant already to do the International Service Project in Guatemala. And we're just waiting till COVID allows us to put that team together. We were starting 2 years ago. That didn't happen, and it didn't happen for this year either. But we're hoping in the spring, we'll be able to start putting information out there and have students join in September, and then spend a year learning about Rotary, learning about international service, doing 80 hours of community service, which is a requirement, and helping to plan what they will be doing when they go to Guatemala. I've been on this trip probably about 8 or 9 times with the students, and it is life-changing. These students who grow up here in houses, who enter a dwelling, basically, that's one room with a dirt floor, with boards for walls tied together with the twine from a bean sack or a rice sack, with the air coming through, and plastic on the roof, not even metal, because they don't have it, and the rain comes through, and they burn a fire on the floor where their children can easily get burned, and all that smoke goes up into this plastic, and the creosote comes down, and it is extremely unhealthy. And there are no possessions in this house, and the children have no toys. And so our children, our young people, high school juniors, when they see this, they are amazed. And they're also amazed at how happy the people are, and the children, and how they can be happy when they have so little. So it's a tremendous experience. It affects all of the Rotarians who go with these students too. So I really encourage your club to become more aware of this, because you'll be hearing more in the next few months, and join in with the other clubs in Snohomish County so that we can form a team here. This is the #1 reason why I chose to accept becoming a district governor, because I wanted to spread this program more throughout our district. Service really touches people's hearts, whether you're 16 or 17, or your elders in the group. Oh, she's left now, you sent her away. I probably am the most elder one in this group, but in any case, it really touches these kids, and it touches us. And it's exciting that we have this opportunity to do all of this service in our community. When I was at the Mount Vernon Rotary Club doing the club installation last June, I learned that they plan to do 100 acts of service this year, 100 acts, because it is their 100th anniversary of their charter. Now I thought, well, when I do a service project with my club, we usually have, at least 10 people who are involved and often many more. So I thought, well, it'll be a little bit difficult to do 100 acts of service, but maybe not impossible. But they decided that it had to be counted every time one thing was done, not how many people did it. So whether it was one person donating blood or a group of people doing something like building one of those little free libraries, it counted as one. So there were two. And those folks are over halfway there now. It is amazing. And you can see what they're doing and what the list is by going onto a brand new site we have on the district website. We put that up this year because I was just amazed. We're a club that's all about service, and yet we had no committee that was focused on service. So I asked our district governor nominee, David Lukoff, if he would head up a committee, if he'd get one together and look at finding out what everyone's doing for service, sharing it on the website so we could take a look. Like you learned about the Duck Dash by going to Canada. You can look on this website now and see what are these 100 acts of service. How many of us ever thought that donating blood was an act of service? And it very much needed. Or some of the other things that they have listed. It's energizing their group. They are excited about what's happening. And we're calling this website do-goodery. This is a term that was coined a couple of years ago in Hamburg, Germany, by a Rotaractor called Chris Wells. And he said, this is what Rotarians do. They do good, do-goodery. So look for the do-goodery link at the top of the district website, and you'll see some interesting things there. And I'm putting things in there. I will be putting things in there because I am hearing so much about what your clubs are doing all over this district. It amazes me. I mean, truly. And I think, oh my gosh, we could do this or we could do that. I have to be quiet in my club or they'll make me not come anymore because I want to try all these projects. And so I look and see what clubs are doing. And in your 50 years, I only know of the last couple of things you've been doing, but I know it has to be mammoth because of all that you're doing now. I'm really pleased that you do these quarterly blood drives. Blood drives are near and dear to my heart. I've been giving blood my entire life. My dad was a major blood donor. And so I think that's just a tremendous offer to people. It's kind of like you don't know who's getting it and they don't know who's giving it. It's really the ultimate gift. I saw you did a turkey trot. How many of you participated in the turkey trot? Oh, wow. Was it cold? Yeah. And you served Christmas lunch to some elders, right? And you have one of those splash pads. We have one in Burlington too. Unfortunately, the Rotary didn't put it in. Kiwanis did, but that's a pretty exciting thing to have. And I can't even imagine being able to use a splash pad right now. We've been cold for so long, right? Yeah. And then you're planning to do something called a pump track. What in the world is a pump track? Do we know what it is? A bicycle track. And it's called. Okay, all right, a pump track. Oh, wow. It's called a pump track. Okay. Well, that's pretty exciting. Okay. Well, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort for all kinds of this service to happen. And you have to wonder, if this club had not been around for the last 50 years, what would be missing in this community? I heard that millions of dollars have been contributed, right? Over the years from the Duck Dash. and so, look around once in a while and think, well, if I hadn't joined Rotary or the Rotary Club had never started, what would this community be like? Because there are communities without Rotary, and it's really quite amazing. So at each club, I ask the president to point out someone who has really performed some outstanding club leadership or service. And this is always a difficult thing for a club president to come up with because there are lots of people who could fit that bill, but they have to kind of whittle it down. And so this year, President Devon has recognized Jola Barnett. Is Jola? Oh, well, that's too bad. We should have done this earlier. Okay. Well, I'll mail it to her along with this card. And what Devon said about her was, Jola is the leader behind the leaders. Because of her guidance, our club succeeds. So lovely comments. Okay, well, I promised you we would get into some activities. And here's how it's going to work. And here's why we're doing it. A couple of years ago, I became familiar with something called We Connect and started watching some videos that the people who produced We Connect put online almost weekly. And it's never been a waste of time. I watch every single one and wish I could just kind of pull it in through osmosis. What they have, besides some other things, a couple books and all, are some cards. And you have cards on your table. And these cards have questions on them. And I thought, well, I'm going to see how this works because this is about connection. And so I took one of the cards and I asked my staff what was on the card. And it said, what is something we don't know about you? Well, I have a small group. There are only 5 of us. My manager has been there for almost 40 years. She came when she was a junior in high school. And the other people have been there a long time too. And so we know each other and there's no drama. We like each other, we talk, and we see each other every day. I was very surprised about what we learned about each other, and they were surprised too. But more than what we learned was what happened at that meeting, at that staff meeting. The whole tone of the meeting changed. You could just feel a warmth within that meeting. And then I saw it happening as the days went by, and also how they started talking to me. Now, I've always talked to the staff, but I never took the time to ask specific in-depth questions, right? So it made such a big difference. I decided that when I had the first meeting of the district leadership team, I was going to ask a question, particularly because I hate that Zoom period, right? That period is you're first starting Zoom and everything's quiet. Nobody knows, well, what should we say or whatever. And we get involved in a lot of what I call small talk. So I asked the question as people were coming on board, what is the most adventurous thing you've ever done? Now, I've known District Governor-elect Raj for several years. We've been in training together. We've been in person before COVID. We've had a lot of chats. I know that he was involved with the World Health Organization. I know that he personally knows the president of Afghanistan that just fled. And I know that he has traveled most of his adult life for his career. So I knew a lot about his job, right? But one thing I didn't know was that he has actually climbed to the base camp of Mount Everest. Now, that's a very interesting thing. So I tried asking some questions too with new people who came into the club. And you know what it did for me? It made me remember their name because I remembered the story. So you each have a card, or hopefully you've seen them in the middle of your table. So you each grab a card and they have questions on them. But this isn't the question you're going to answer. The way this works is there are different color cards around the room. And the idea is to find someone with a different color card. You ask them the question that's on your card, and they will ask you the question that's on their card. Okay, so you'll find a little bit something about them, and none of them say, "Where do you work?" Okay, and so after you do that, you exchange cards so that you'll each have the other's card, and then you find another partner. Okay, so we're going to do this 2 times, and so stand up, find a partner. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I see my time is running out. So this activity we've just done is going to be the opening session of our district celebration next May in Semiahmoo. And we have a professional speaker who's also she calls herself an edutainer, and she is very entertaining, Rebecca Murray from Mount Vernon. And she is going to expand this. So you'll learn more how to use this in your business or within your Rotary Club. And we'll have cards there too. And so it will be a fun time to start our we're calling it a celebration because by golly, we're going to be together again after a couple of years of just being on Zoom and actually having one conference canceled. So I encourage you to think about signing up for the district celebration. It is at Semiahmoo, which is a wonderful place. We'll have, the usual fantastic speakers, and we're going to have an international bazaar. We're not just doing some of the old fuddy-duddy names like House of Friendship. That's a 40s thing. We had to do something new. So I'm calling it International Bazaar. You'll have the opportunity to present one of your projects if you have one of the 18 booths at the bazaar. And it's going to be a fundraiser too. You have the opportunity to have a raffle or to sell a product based on one of the projects that you're presenting. And on Saturday night, we're having the Killer Keys dueling pianos rather than the usual dance where I get to sit, because the only time my husband ever danced with me was on our first date. So think about looking on the website, learning more about the conference, and planning to join all of your Rotary family there. One of the reasons I talk about connection is our Rotary International president asks us to grow more. He says, each one keep one. No, I say that. He said, each one bring one. And we're good at bringing people into Rotary. You have 10 new people this year already. It's quite amazing. Some are coming from other clubs or rejoining, but that is a terrific number. But you know what? You also have 4 people who are no longer here in your Rotary Club this year. And in many Rotary clubs, it's a wash every single year. People come, people go. And that's true throughout the Rotary world. So we're good at bringing people in, but we're obviously very good at letting them go. And one of the reasons they go is because they haven't become connected. They enjoy Rotary, they enjoy the service, but they don't feel like they belong. And we call ourselves a family. But when one of our family members is missing, we know where they are. We ask about it. What are you up to? Even when our kids move out, we kind of want to know where they are and what they're doing. So I encourage you, when someone isn't here, to give them a call. Now that kind of requires that you come regularly so that you know that they didn't just pop in when you weren't here, because that can be a little bit embarrassing. Okay. So I really encourage us to look at our Rotary family as just that we make sure we stay connected, that we do more than find out what they do for work. We ask a question that gives us more information, and that question is going to lead to other things too. And we will learn more about each other, and that will be a really warm feeling and will help our clubs to grow. There was an American author. His name is, well, I didn't put his name on here, so we're not going to know his name today. He said, nothing shapes our lives so much as the questions we ask, refuse to ask, or never dream of asking. Maybe it was Ron. Okay. We really are hardwired for connection. And the way we have Rotarians for Life is to make that connection. So I'm just going to close with something that our Rotary International president shared with us when he introduced the theme this last year in January. Unfortunately, that too was on Zoom instead of being with all the other 535 district governors from around the world in Florida. We're in that little box. But this man is so inspiring. His name is Shekhar Mehta, and he's from India. And if you have the chance to get on the Rotary International website, you can see videos that he's produced and learn about his life because it is quite amazing. He said, "The greatest gift we are given is the power to touch a life, to change, to make a difference in the circle of life. If we can open our hands, our heart, and our soul, the magic will begin to happen as the wheel begins to roll. Let us turn that wheel together so all humanity thrives. We have the power and the magic to serve, to change lives." So my Rotary friends, this is our time and this is our moment to capture that magic by doing bigger and more impactful service projects in our community, by joining with other service organizations to bring people into Rotary. And also to remember those people that are in plain sight around you who just need to be asked to come and join you to serve to change lives. Thank you.
And then Beverly, if I could keep you for just one more minute, I know some of us have to get out of here at 1:30, so it is time, but there's a couple people here that we want to honor, Dr. Ron, and then also Kathy. Could you guys head up to the front, please? And then anyone who has to leave, please feel free to step out. It's just a couple more minutes before we officially dismiss the meeting.